Welcome to Mams Talk, where Mams Talk Survivor, season 3 of Silly Goose Survivor. Survivor All In, made by our wonderful hosts and guest on today's podcast, Zach. Welcome.
Woohoo.
Welcome.
So excited to be here. Thank you for having me. Always a
And of
pleasure.
and of course, Jess, thank you also for being here. I like the shirt. You're bringing it back.
Yep. Yep.
We're here.
Classic.
And I'm drinking a my silly goose juice today.
We
I
we're
have nothing.
oh well, fake fan.
Get it
Everyone else
together.
is silly goosed up.
I mean,
Zach didn't get the memo.
you have your scan
Yeah,
shirt on.
Yes.
we're
Yeah.
representing Skinny
It's
Atlas.
okay.
Yeah,
We're all franchise reps
we're
here.
Yes,
here
yes,
in
yes.
spirit. So I guess let's start with Zach. Just like, I was the creator. I've, hosted for and made the game for 2 seasons. So now you're taking the reins here, right? What's the inspiration for this cool casino theme?
No, yeah, I was kind of trying to think, let's go with the theme. Number one, let's keep it on the cheaper side. And I was like, casino stuff, very cheap, wonderful, wonderful. But also, I felt like in the first 2 seasons, we were missing people taking big risks. And so I wanted to kind of create a game that focused on giving people the opportunity to risk things, to further themselves in the games, to try to get that energy more out into the world and try to create some more exciting gameplay. So we'll see if it worked or not, but that was the inspiration.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great inspiration because we were super playing it safe in season 1 and 2. I feel like we've had a lot of very calculated, scared players, myself included.
Myself
Definitely.
So
included too.
yeah, so changing it up was definitely a good idea for this group of people.
All right, so let's talk about the opening twist then. Um, do we feel like anyone made a mistake not switching? Because we are like everyone is still ultimately playing it safe here.
Yeah, honestly, with the way the tribe breakdown happened, I think anyone who switched would have maybe caused some distrust with the people that they were with. There was a lot of previous relationships on both tribes. So I think if someone with a prior relationship would decided to switch, it could have caused a lot of like dissent. But then there were also some like wild card stragglers, like Joe wanted to switch but was worried it would cause,
Hmm.
him to look like a complete pariah from both sides. So I don't know. I think it was just a scary thing to do so quickly. And yeah, again, I think we all are ultimately kind of calculated safe players. So the risk of trying to switch and then completely being ousted by the tribe you switch to is definitely a fear for everyone.
Yeah, also, well, here's my take on it is the people who were already considering switching, such as Joe and it's seemingly Olivia, like they already have that mark on them, so you might as well try to do it, you know?
Right. I think that the fear came from the idea of trying to switch and then there not being someone else on the other tribe to switch because it seemed like the Aces tribe, the red tribe, really was kind of locked. Whereas I think more of the people wanting to switch were the other tribe,
Yeah.
the Lady Luck tribe. So I
I
think
was
that
not
like
gonna switch. No way. I
no,
was like,
no, we
this tribe is stacked.
yeah, we had very much like come up with a plan to like pretend like Allie was gonna pretend like she was gonna switch to try and see if we could get Joe to
Hmm.
try and switch so that we could get the advantage in the challenge. That was pretty much like our plan. We had no I don't as far as I know, no one had any intention of switching
I don't think
um
so. No.
from the Aces tribe. So I think that ultimately Joe and Olivia made the right choice to not switch. But I think it had the people been a little bit different, there might have been a good 1-for-1 that could have happened.
Yeah, I was like wondering if people were gonna like if the couples were together, if they'd want to split up to
Mm,
try to get that
Mm-hmm.
target off their back. There also was an incentive for wanting to switch, so like you could
Yeah.
have gotten something to further your personal game. But I do agree, like it's a very risky thing to do early on. But if you're already a big target, why not take a risk like that? So it was
yeah.
definitely
Yeah.
interesting to
I
see what
know.
ended up
I'm
happening.
honestly surprised that Olivia didn't, considering like she clearly felt like she had heat on her the entire
Yeah.
episode, and it obviously like comes back to bite her. But
Yeah.
I'm very much surprised that she, on one hand, was saying like, I don't trust any of you to stay, blah blah blah, but like she also was like not necessarily
Yeah.
brave or risky enough to
Yeah.
actually try and switch with someone. And then she could have been with GMAC, which would have been
Yeah,
helpful
I
for
think
her.
in general, like I think she had the most connections on our tribe in general. I mean, obviously GMAC and
Definitely.
Roos, but like I think
Yeah.
she is like just closer with a lot of the people
Yeah.
over there. And I think
Definitely.
because we had those like kind of more like power players, if you will, on our side, I think she would have been accepted a little bit easier.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. It does probably come down to the fact that you need someone else to switch with.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about like Survivor Cook Islands with the mutiny. Like
Hmm.
maybe if there was like it was just you had to decide,
Yeah.
maybe something would have happened, but you
Yeah.
know, we'll never know.
We'll
Yeah.
never
I
know.
I do think that you're right. Like if Olivia does switch with, I don't know, whoever really, from the Aces tribe, and then Olivia's on a tribe both with GMAC and Roos, but also with like Yumi, Ali, Ella, like I think that that would take a lot of heat off of Olivia specifically. And I don't know that she necessarily goes first if our tribe
Yeah,
loses,
that would
you
have been
know.
interesting.
Yeah.
All right, well, let's talk about the theme song because kind of fire.
Because
Yeah,
it's
Kind of
fire.
fire, kind of fire.
our dear friend Sean, aka Smiling Eagle, he approached me and he said, "Hey, I would love to write some music for Survivor. Like, would you be into that?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah."
Hmm.
And it turned out fantastic.
It's
I'm so
awesome. I
excited
love
about
it.
it.
Yeah, it's so
Iconic.
great to have our own, like, not only is it a little casino themed, but it also is distinct from like the CBS Survivor song, but it has flavor of the original Survivor song. So I think it's a great
Hmm.
addition, and hopefully he will continue to compose music for our future seasons. But yeah,
Yes.
fingers
And now we're
crossed.
not copyrighted.
Yes, so
Yes.
true.
So when we can make all the big bucks, just kidding. I make $0 off of this, just to be so clear. If anything, I'm spending
I
money.
was gonna say, if anything, this is a sinkhole of money for
Right.
us.
It's a passion project.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right. Well, let's talk about the cast, shall we?
Yeah.
I mean, you pointed out in the episode that there's like a interesting like mix of like old players from like one season, the other season, and also like new players. Like, how is that adding to the dynamic of the season? What are you guys seeing there?
I think like especially from this episode, I think you see a lot of the first time players kind of coming out swinging. Like I think Steven and Joe are really kind of like taken, you know, a lot of agency in the game along with GMAC and Roos. Like it's, and I think that the veteran players are kind of like for the most part kind of trying to like lay low and wait and see kind of like what the vibe is, whereas
Mm,
the new players are kind of like starting to like draw lines in the sand very quickly, which is interesting.
Yeah, I think there's also like to that extent with like the coming out swinging versus like waiting, there were just some things that like some of the new players would say that I was like, oh, you're gonna say that out loud to a whole group of people versus some of the veterans were like more reserved in what they were gonna
mm.
say and like
Hmm.
able to do that as well. And yeah, that was it was very interesting.
What
Yeah.
did a new person say? Just if you
There
can.
was a point where GMAC was, I think, with Jess and Ella, and he was like,
Yep.
Mm.
"Me and Roos are strongly aligned," and I was like,
Yep.
you're gonna say that
Yeah.
out loud in front
No,
of like there were so many people there."
I was
Yeah.
truly shocked when he said that. I was like, and then I told everyone that he
That-
said that.
That's what I would do.
um, and you can tell that this is what's happening in the video, but it's even more clear from real life because the conversation was longer. But I don't think I said anything back to him. Like I was like, I was really trying. I mean, I'm a talker, as we know. The past two seasons, I've been a
The
talker,
mams are
and
talking.
Mams are talking.
Yes.
And I really came into this season with like the goal of kind of like listening first and talking later. So I kind of, and the thing about like these games is you feel, at least me, like you feel like you have to fill the space with words, but a lot of times people won't really notice if you don't say anything. You can kind of like let them talk and they'll say more than they maybe would have if you responded. So that was sort of my objective with being quiet while listening to people and just kind of going like, yes, very interesting. So that's what I was doing with GMAC, but it was just me standing there going,
Yeah.
while he said, me and Roos are heavily aligned.
Yeah. it makes me think of that, and I had a similar thought going into the season. But I from the Mr. Rogers documentary, Won't You Be My Neighbor? That one,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
It was just something, it stuck with me. They said that he would like intentionally like not respond to people because like he would want them to keep talking. And that is just like a subconscious thing that people do.
Hmm.
It's like if you don't fill the space, they will. People
Yes.
do not like silence, so they will
Yeah.
keep
Yep.
talking and they will say something that they
Yeah.
should not be saying.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah, that definitely was my thought going in. And it had GMAC tell me that him and Roos were heavily aligned. He probably would have said that regardless, but
I'm he just kept going.
he was like the girls, and it seems like you guys are aligned, and
The
we're
boys.
aligned, and the boys are aligned, and also me and Roos, we are heavily aligned, strongly.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that was very fun to watch. But let's talk, I guess, about the early alliances in general. So
Yeah.
we do have that boys group happening. What
Yeah,
are our
I
thoughts
don't.
on that?
Wow, what something I was not. I mean, I don't want to say I wasn't expecting it to happen because I do think we had like a pretty male heavy season, which is kind of a little bit like less. I feel like it's more usually less like half and half the kind of way that it was this season. And I think, you know, you don't necessarily think it's going to happen, but then it just sort of makes sense, I guess, once you start watching the pieces fall together, especially with like the way that the Aces tribe was broken down. Like there was a lot of discussion about how like the girls outnumbered the guys on that tribe by like one, and how the five girls on the Aces tribe were all very close friends outside of the game. So I think that the boys sort of were starting to like feel threatened by that before anything even had happened. Meanwhile, the girls not working together at all. There was a lot of distrust within that group, but I understand what the motivation and fear that would come with that, so it makes sense.
I mean, I also just think the more straight men that we have in the cast, the more likely a boy. Like, I remember in Skinny Atlas, Grant coming up to me and being like, "I think a Black Widow alliance is starting.
Yeah.
Maybe we should." And I was like, "No."
Yeah. Yeah. Which Grant
Yeah.
claims was just to sow chaos, but
Do your thing. But yeah, the girls alliance, that is not real.
that
That,
never
yeah.
was.
I
Yeah.
just said I wouldn't mind working with the girls, and then Allie was like, she wants a girls alliance.
Well, and then I remember that like I remember there was like no like conversation with all five of us at any point. Like
No,
it just
literally, no.
like there was no that never happened, truly. It was like a very weird like
Like, yeah, that
first
spread before
first
we had
round. Yeah,
ever even come together.
definitely.
So yeah, it stay tuned to see what happens with
Yeah.
that. Um, but let's talk about the other end of the spectrum, the Lady Luck. We have a very clear Rochester crew happening
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
With specifically the people who attended the same high school.
Yes. Yeah, like the what how many of it was it? Four, five of them?
Max, Grant, Dom, Liz, Caroline. So
Yeah,
five.
five.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Vanessa on the outskirts because
Vanessa
she is
by
from Rochester but did
association,
not attend that high school.
but is a friend of Max's,
Right.
so therefore the one connection she has is Max, and then that kind of so then that leaves Olivia, Joe, and Nick on the outskirts there.
Yeah.
So
What do we think about that, like moving forward? Obviously, we know what happens, but like,
Well, I think already in the like this episode to me felt very Caroline versus Grant and like them butting
yeah.
heads about what they wanted and kind of who was going to end up getting like what they wanted at the very end.
Hmm.
And I thought that that was very interesting to then see how everybody else was kind of reacting to the two of them.
yeah,
Yeah, I think that the vibe of that group is like it logically makes sense for them to work together, but I think that the inherent dynamic of those personalities together is like a self-destruction waiting to happen.
yeah.
I don't really think that there's any way that that group of people can effectively work together in the long run. I think that like
Particularly
the
Caroline and Grant.
Caroline Grant and honestly Dom, like I think that the three of them have their own agendas of what they want, and it just so happens that Dom and Caroline were aligned on this one, and that helped them get Olivia gone. But if Dom and Grant wanted the same thing, I don't know, maybe something else happens. I mean, Caroline's a really great talker and player. But if Dom decides to side with Grant, I think that then they have more power to get what they want done. Just because I think those three people are very strong in their persuasion and like their vision for what the game looks like.
Yeah, very true. I guess I want to talk about the challenge just for a little bit. Just I really enjoyed this challenge. It was really
Yeah,
fun
no, me
opening
too. It was
challenge.
very fun. Classic
Good,
obstacle course, but
a
like
classic.
very interesting.
I've always thought about doing the like build the stick thing, but never figured out how to like implement it. And it was very cool to like
Yeah.
see you figure out like a budget-free way to do that.
No,
Yeah.
exactly. And it was definitely interesting, like trying to see how far you could actually make it build with those supplies. Because originally the line was a lot farther back until I realized that where I had
Mm.
put it was almost impossible.
Yeah.
And
It
so,
is crazy because like you watch the show and it feels like, there's your backseat gaming and you're kind of like, like this shouldn't be that hard. You just tie a bunch of sticks together. But like watching like your friends do it and kind of like their process of troubleshooting like in real time and how like they figure it out. It was very interesting. And it was like really honestly, the thing that interested me the most about that was Grant and Max's entire strategy was Grant is tall and Max will hold Grant. And that was their
Max is strong. Grant is tall.
and they like barely built their stick out before they start trying to like
yeah.
to go get it. Which is like that also was kind of like the aces strategy as well, because like we picked our tallest person to be the stick holder, but like Grant and Max 10 seconds in, they're reaching for it.
I would have loved to see Gabby trying to hold.
Oh my God.
I know.
I was waiting for it to happen while I was sitting there. I was
She's
like,
hard strength.
I was gonna say she flies away. He catapults her across the field.
Oh, I needed it. But yeah, the challenge actually took a long time. I mean,
really
you can't really
did.
tell
It
me
really
it, but
did, yeah.
Like,
It
those
was
sticks
quite
took
a
a long time to put
substantial,
together.
yeah. Oh, I was getting really nervous watching. Like nobody was making any progress, but like the Lady Luck tribe was making a lot more attempts because of Max and Grant's strategy.
Right.
And that was making me really nervous. Like I was like, and then they finished first, and then I started to get really nervous. I was like, it's over. But
well,
then
'cause
go ahead.
also they had the false, like,
Yes.
when Grant crossed the line over.
Yeah.
Because as soon as they started with that strategy, I was like, I need to look at their feet so much because he's definitely gonna fall over.
Definitely. Yeah.
We also need to talk about the Olivia shit talking.
My favorite part of that is like Nick being like, okay, so we're gonna be super respectful and we're not gonna make comments about anybody else's performance because it just is really stressful. No backseat gaming is what he says.
Second the competition starts, she's like, just notice the lengths of the sticks.
Notice the thickness of the different sticks. CJ, you're a disgrace to your family.
Listen, if I ever play again, anyone that voted Olivia out, I'm getting out of here.
They're done.
Well, that's
she's entertainment.
She is. I was like, no, yeah. I also a great shield moving forward. Like Grant.
Oh yeah.
Grant had the right strategy.
No, he did. I honestly like I don't love to agree with Grant's point of view a lot of the time, but I agree that he was on the right track of keeping Olivia as a shield, but I definitely understand why Caroline specifically was hesitant to keep her around, and I think that she made the right decision for herself getting rid of Olivia.
Yeah, particularly Caroline has a hard time working with people who are not agreeable. And Olivia is just gonna do whatever she wants, whatever the way. She's not controllable, and I think that doesn't work for Caroline.
Yeah,
definitely.
But what a loss!
What a loss
to the community.
And the biggest loss is the paddle team of Nick and Joe that we'll never get to see do the paddle.
Very sad.
They were both devastated about that.
So true,
well, I think we'll live, but you killed it. Also, I gotta say the math took a long time.
Yeah,
I think I made it maybe a little bit too tricky because we had the math and then the little layer on top of the math with the fact that there was only one die at the bottom when there were two above.
Right.
Honestly, my biggest issue with that, I mean, this is like not interesting to anyone, but the chalkboard was just so small that I couldn't like keep track of my work, like organizational wise. So like I did all the right math and I knew the little trick at the bottom, but I just like lost track of the numbers that I had found. Whatever. But
Yeah.
we got there. And like
We
I
did.
said, I'm glad that the math teacher did not lose the math challenge. That would have been really bad.
Yeah, well, another behind the scenes thing that was funny about that is like, Kay, I can't remember what's in the episode. You're like, don't talk to me.
No, I didn't put that in the episode.
Kay was like, okay, so because I think we had a whole conversation about like, do people want cheers? Do people want name chanting? Like, what's your vibe?
Yeah.
And that was honestly a good conversation to have because like some people were like really like wanted us to be like, let's go, Steven. Like you
Yeah,
got these bean
famously, I
bags.
work on negative reinforcement. When people tell me I can't do something, I'm like, I'll show you, bitch. So that's what I was asking for, but I said you can't watch me do math.
You
You
said you
can't look.
can't watch me. So everybody is like way away from you. Like I think Allie corralled everyone
Yeah.
away. And then like, but then as it started to get really like there was a really long time happening, people kept being like coming to me and being like, okay, but is she like clicking the numbers all the way? Is she checking the I'm like, I think she's
Well,
got it.
the other part of that is it actually didn't matter that all of you were not watching me because I still had Gabby over my shoulder
Yeah.
with a camera.
Well, of course. That's
And
how it
I was
works.
like, stop pressuring me.
That's sort of the name of the game.
Listen, it is the name of the game, but like, listen, stage fright, you know.
Yeah, but the pressure is high. I could feel like both of y'all had like
I was
some
shaking.
yeah, some fear
I was like,
happening.
I was doing like the nine trick on my hands, and I literally was like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, it
I
was
mean,
like,
I literally got scared that I had done the math wrong when I like wrote it.
yeah,
yeah, nope, just me messing that up.
I remember there was a moment where Zach checks the lock to see like if the right code was put in and it just wasn't opening for some
Yeah,
reason. And then he
no.
goes like, nope, no, no, you don't have it.
No.
I mean, you see, like I was shaking too. Like you can see,
Yeah.
I was very steady with the actual paddle, but like getting it on the track, I was like, and then I would drop it. The only time I would drop it is when I couldn't get it in like the little thing, but it was steady hands going forward.
Yeah. But ultimately, the aces won. We won. We got the cute little dice.
Yes.
And then exile twist.
Yeah. Oh,
Yo.
that was stressful.
Oh my
I
goodness.
was totally unprepared to have to make that decision.
I did not.
Like,
and we made it so quick.
We really well because Allie went, as Ella mentions in the episode, Allie went, it should be Nick, and everyone goes, yeah, okay, that makes sense. And then we're like, yeah, sure. that works. We kind of just like, okay, first person.
Yeah.
I mean, we were thinking again, I can't remember how in depth we go with our like reasoning behind this, but we were just thinking that he would like be picked off easily because he was one of those three people on the outside.
Right.
But in hindsight, we should have thought a bit more about the fact that Olivia was going to be targeted right away.
Yeah.
And maybe tried to shake it up in that way. But, you know,
they also
it is what it is.
so clocked us that we just kept him. We wanted to keep him safe.
Yeah.
We should have thought about it for maybe a little bit more time. That would
Yeah, I think we should have thought. Well, I remember I said like I was worried about sending Olivia because at the time I was really thinking about exile as a bad thing, even though it was safety. So I was trying to think, for me, I was really trying to think of someone who would like not take it out on us or like hold it against us later. Because I think like especially in the show, exile is really like not something that you want to be going on. But I think that has more to do with the fact that you're like sleeping on the island alone and you have to like.
I will say, I feel like Olivia would have gotten an idol on this. I think she would have been successful in the puzzle.
Yeah.
And do we need Olivia to have an idol?
Definitely not. Definitely
it would have been fun. You're right.
Like definitely not. Like we definitely didn't need Olivia to have an idol, but I guess my reasoning was incorrect of like why it was not a good idea to do Olivia, just because I think that exile ended up being more desirable than I had anticipated.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So I think then people were, instead of being like, oh, Nick is like, he's like down like for the count kind of thing. It was more like, oh, he has an advantage now and everybody on the other side wants to work with him. So it started getting people looking at him in that way versus like the other way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, Zach, just curious, for the exile, were you hoping that the choosing of other players would create some sort of like cross-tribal dynamic?
100%. No, yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I wanted that kind of decision in there. So you could kind of like think about what the other tribe was doing with their decision or
Mm,
try to like create bonds for the merge. Like I like the
it
idea of
was
having that
smart.
Yeah.
have
Yeah, no,
having
I liked that twist a lot.
yeah. And just like having exile in general, like being able to give one person that safety is huge. Like
Yeah.
especially yeah, like yeah, once again being able to build those bonds. Great.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
but
Agreed.
poor Nick.
I know.
His little self-talk is so
I
cute.
know. He really tried with the puzzle. He said, it's okay. It's okay.
You know,
You
he didn't
couldn't do
say.
it, but it's okay. And I think
And it is
I'm
okay.
and it is
It is
okay.
okay. That
Right.
that is a hard
It's
puzzle.
a hard puzzle, yeah.
Yeah. But okay, so anything else to say about Exile or no?
No, I'm just
I mean,
curious
I
to
do like that
see.
it's just like in a shed, I'll say
Yeah.
that. Very cool.
I do just like in general like the like that idea of implementing a way to get advantages into the game and stuff. Like I think that
Yeah.
as we know from the past two seasons, people aren't the greatest at finding idols. So having like a built-in mechanic to win them or things similar to them is interesting.
Yeah,
And
I
Yeah.
I almost saw it as like a shop of sorts. Like I had gone
yeah.
through a few iterations about. I knew I was going to do Exile very early on, but like
Mm-hmm.
what it was going to be. Like originally it was like a
Mm,
duel between you sent one person from each
Mm.
tribe, but in the end I was
mm,
like, no, I kind of like this idea of having like a shop where they can go to
Yeah.
compete and get something and like risk. Once again, that risk and rewards that we
Yeah.
love with
mm.
gambling.
Of
We
course. We
love the gambling.
love.
That.
I was hoping for some poker. Where was the poker? Where we should
You
just
walk
sit
in
and
and it's
play a
like a
game of poker.
casino and you play blackjack for an idol.
I've been playing a lot of Balatro. Y'all been playing Balatro?
Quattro,
Oh,
amazing.
I've been playing
Where was
Balatro.
Balatro?
I don't honestly, it should have been there.
You go in and it's like a fire to keep you safe. Balatro.
Balatro.
I'm like, I'll say that one. All right. So I guess let's talk about the conversations for vote offs.
hmm
I mean, let's just talk about the chaos that was Olivia during this.
I mean, I as much as like I wanted her to get out of this, I really think that she dug her own grave with this one. She could not like keep her threat level like out of the conversation really, and I think that she just kept burying herself deeper and deeper as like a past
Yeah.
winner. I honestly I do have to agree. I think her argument that people wouldn't want to award the same winner for the third season, like so that like because there's only three seasons, because I was feeling similarly like as a past winner. I honestly thought that was a good argument. I just don't think anyone was going to hear it because it was in the same sentence as I won and I'm a threat, like, you know what I mean, like.
Yeah.
I'm like very curious to talk to her later and like see
Mhm.
because she came in very like
Yeah.
strong like with the whole like confronting people at the very beginning with the shit talking during the challenge and just when
hmm
your target is already that big, I think it's hard to get it off. Like I mean, Caroline too is a huge threat. She made it super far the first time. I
Yeah.
mean, the last time she was just cut off because she's a big threat,
Yeah.
but she was kind of able this episode to kind of like assimilate to the group and like get by and not really be mentioned almost at all. And so
Yeah.
like it's definitely possible to get past that. But I'm yeah.
For sure. I
Yeah.
was actually wondering that too because like Olivia's whole MO in Manhattan was really like play it cool, kind of play dumb, but secretly you're kind of working behind the scenes to like influence things even though you're kind of like presenting yourself as this like wild card who people can't really like place. But I feel like because she has the win under her belt, she kind of took it to an extreme that was like I think it was maybe kind of like a I'll call it out so other people don't call it out for me sort of thing. But I think that that ended up kind of biting her.
Yeah. And we will hear from her very shortly, so we can ask her many, many questions. But I think the biggest, and this is such a fun moment for me, and I know it was awkward at the moment, but I'm calling it the confrontation, where Olivia approaches Caroline and point blank asks her like, "Why are you trying to get me out?" It
The
and the
story.
fact that we're not gonna get a moment like that from
I know.
Olivia for the rest of the season is really
Truly, the
disappointing.
trajectory of her like grilling Vanessa and calling Vanessa a bad liar and then using that information to like go back to Caroline and be like, I know what you said about me. It's so crazy.
Is
Fantastic
that just the cover
television.
story?
That's just the cover story and everyone's voting me. And Vanessa just being like, yeah.
I'm like, listen. She clocked them. Like,
She did. No,
I was like, go off, pop
no,
off.
I know. She
Well,
had her finger
here's
on the pulse.
yeah, no, she did, and this wasn't in the episode, but she did like a little self-tape confessional after she talked to Grant to be like, okay, I'm gonna like ask like oh like Caroline's talking to Vanessa right now. I'm gonna ask Vanessa like what they were talking about because I know it's about me. And like if Vanessa's
Hmm.
honest with me, then I know blah blah blah.
Hmm.
So she's smart. She just has I think
Yes,
she's gotta rein it in a little bit,
for
not be
sure. For
so
sure.
as Caroline put it, aggressive.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah, I would say
but
she definitely was being like aggressive in general about
hmm
like, trying to track down who was gonna betray her instead of like pretending like like knowing full well she was gonna be betrayed because that is what was true, but like pretending like that's not what she knew, which again I think was like something she was really good at in Manhattan, was like kind of throwing people off the scent of what she actually knew about the game.
Yeah, I will say my favorite thing from Caroline in that conversation is that Olivia goes like, "You want to get me out instead of working with me," and then Caroline goes, I don't think it's instead of." I'm like, "So you're just like saying that you wouldn't work with Olivia either way?" Like,
love her. Is she there right now?
I don't think she's home.
Oh
Oh,
damn.
Carolyn. My
Shucks.
my favorite, I mean, Olivia has a lot of great quotes this episode, obviously, but I do think one of my favorites is girl. Everybody gave you up.
Everybody gave you up. Well, and I think that, when we hear Caroline talking about this, like in her confessional, she's like, I'm realizing I need to like reel it back a little bit because people are like really spreading my info.
Hmm.
So, maybe for Caroline specifically, like that was a really good piece of information that she gave
Yeah.
Definitely.
her, because
Yeah.
two people did basically give her up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
So
I do
worth
think that that's
noting.
good information for Caroline going forward to like not necessarily trust this alliance they have going.
Yeah, for sure. I just want to say, I'm obsessed with Vanessa not being able to lie to Olivia. And then cut to her telling Joe that she won't vote for him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes,
no, that
that's my
was
favorite arc. It's so good.
Vanessa's lying arc. We have to follow
She did
closely.
it. She did it.
No, I loved that from Vanessa. I really did. Like, I'm just gonna throw a vote on Joe just cause, and
Just
then
cause.
like see what happens. And like, it's kind of like giving that Vanessa's gonna like be a hard to pin down player and like
Yeah.
not necessarily just work with the big group, even if that's what's presented to her.
hmm
So I like that.
Yeah. She
Yeah.
said she wants to be like a wild
Hmm.
card and she's throwing out a hinky vote. When
Hmm.
I initially thought that she was doing that as like a backup in case
Hmm.
Olivia did play an idol so that she wasn't the other name, or
Hmm.
like if she played her shot in the dark, but it doesn't seem like that's necessarily why. She just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
wanted to do it for like fun.
I think so. It also like makes a lot of sense because I think Joe is someone who is on the outskirts, so like kind of having that suspicion of like, oh well, who's coming after Joe? Then like what does that look like? And like yeah, what's Joe's vibe in that?
Yeah,
But
and how will he react to it?
how will he react? We'll find out next time.
A little sneak peek for next week. It's interesting. I'll
He
let you
has a
know that right.
reaction.
He has a reaction. Don't miss that. I promise you it's gonna be interesting. Whatever you're thinking it is, it's
It's
not that.
not that.
It's
It's
not.
something new and something new and unexpected.
Yeah. Uh so I guess before we get Olivia on, let's talk about like was this like a good boot? Like was this a good decision for them? Even though like she did kind of set herself up, or like should they have gotten rid of someone else. More on the frail side, maybe.
We're on the
I
rails.
was waiting for us to talk about that.
Yeah.
That was also wild.
That's actually probably my favorite quote of the episode, only because he says it with such like genuineness.
And he
Like,
doesn't see an issue with it.
no, he just goes somewhere more on the frail side, perhaps. Are you thinking somewhere more on the frail side? Who would that be, Grant? Tell us.
You?
You.
I do want answers. I desperately want answers of who's
Oh,
more
I
on the
need
frail
Yeah.
that.
side.
No, but
Well,
for real,
because
like, what was it a good boot?
Um, I think ultimately for that Aquinas group, it probably was the right decision for them.
Yeah.
definitely for Caroline. I don't know
Definitely for
about the
Caroline.
rest of them. Like Olivia's a
Yeah,
person that is always going to go in like up in front of you later down the line.
Yeah.
And like, especially like for Grant, that was not a good situation. Like
Yeah.
he really would have
no,
benefited
no.
from Olivia staying in the game.
I do think so, but I honestly think for everyone besides Grant, I don't because I do think it is so if we're thinking like targets, right? Like I think we mostly have heat on Olivia, Grant, and Caroline on that tribe.
Yeah.
And as far as like past game performance, so I think that Caroline obviously benefits from Olivia going, and Grant I think benefits from Olivia staying because of the shield strategy. But as far as like Dom, Liz, Max, and Vanessa go, I think that they probably, as of now, benefit from keeping that tight instead of giving the outsiders numbers. Because if they picked off someone, within their own numbers or something, instead of Olivia, I think that could cause chaos later. And I think that she just was so hard to predict that it like
Yeah.
almost does benefit everyone at the end of the day for her to be voted out, even though there are some upsides to keeping her as well.
I think it's almost interesting seeing like the dichotomy of Vanessa's chaotic game versus Olivia's chaotic game.
Mm-hmm.
Because like Vanessa's able to play that chaotic game, like throw out a hinky vote, and like I mean we'll see what happens, but like everybody still feels like fairly chill with her
Yeah.
versus Olivia playing it out loud, like everybody's so scared of that. So like it'll
Yeah.
be interesting to see how that goes on the
For
future.
sure. I think that there's definitely, it's easier to play a chaotic game if you're not playing so out in the open with it,
Yeah.
because then your chaos is just going to get cut before you can really start to wreak it,
Yep.
Yeah. What do we think Grant could have done to like make this a vote that was good for him?
I think that I'm just trying to think of the numbers because,
Mhm.
like,
Because he spent a lot of time talking to Olivia. And I was like,
yeah,
I feel
Not
like that's not the way that you should have been approaching this.
he had a good conversation with Nick, which I'm
Well,
remembering.
who was on
well,
exile?
You right. Yes, yeah, that's true. You're right.
I
That was before the competition. Yeah.
I do think that if the Aces had sent someone from that Aquinas group
Yeah.
to exile, then Grant could have picked up the people who are on the outskirts of that
Yeah.
maybe and
Yeah.
Well,
kind of made a
yeah,
push.
I was thinking the fact that he was trying to target Joe was the wrong choice
Yeah,
there. I
definitely.
Yeah,
think
no,
he should have
no,
worked with Joe.
definitely that. That's what I was gonna say, because obviously I was forgetting that Nick was not a vote in this, but like if he had gotten those outsider votes and worked with Olivia and Joe to try and get out someone like Dom or something, that might
Keep
have
Dominic
worked.
curse alive.
But also,
Yes.
but also I think that he's trying too hard to convince, like I was saying, Caroline and Dom, when those are the people you're not going to be able to move. You need to talk to Liz, you need to talk to Max, you need to talk to Vanessa. Like
Yeah.
those are the people that are a little bit more like adaptable and movable, whereas like Caroline and Dom have their own idea of what their game trajectory looks like, and they both clearly were set on Olivia going.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else we want to talk about? Anything about the aces?
I just want to talk about the Stephen, Ali, CJ trio
Oh,
that's
yeah, sure.
happening, because that I just think is an interesting dynamic considering Ali and CJ's history in the game.
Yes, I
And
mean, spell that out for us.
yeah, I mean they had a tumultuous time in Survivor Manhattan, so I was not sure. I say it in the episode, but like I wasn't sure exactly what that working relationship would look like. But as of now, it seems like they're working pretty closely together, which could come back to bite Ali, especially if
Yeah.
CJ is more close to Steven, because a trio always has that kind of
Yeah.
risk, you know?
And then she
Um,
also like gave Steven up to me.
Yeah, yeah.
Very
That was
quickly.
all. That was very interesting. It was really odd to watch Allie play a sort of sneakier, more disloyal game than she normally does. Which may or may not work out for her. Because it's definitely different than what she has done in the
Yeah.
past.
Listen, you gotta shake it up.
Gotta shake it up.
Zendaya. I've never seen that show. That's a show, right?
Yeah.
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 With
Selena Gomez sings the theme song.
oh,
Oh, does she really? I didn't know that.
who's it? Bella Thorne?
Bella Thorne, yeah.
California,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right.
I just
Anything
watched
else?
Challengers.
Ooh, amazing. All right. If we don't have anything else, we're gonna
Oh, well,
bring in
I guess
yeah.
I actually have something else. Hey,
Yeah,
what
go for it.
review of playing?
My review?
Yeah.
Oh, um, the first episode was fun. No, like I don't know. It was a I was here's the thing. For this episode, I was very relaxed mostly. I didn't have to deal with like voting anyone out.
Hmm.
I got to play a little challenge. It was really
Hmm.
cute and fun. And I wasn't running around stressed out about like getting all this stuff done. So
Yeah, that's true.
playing for me at this point in time was easier than hosting.
Yeah, I think that the Aces had a pretty like kumbaya moment happening, which
Yeah.
was honestly stressful for me. I hated it. But it was
Yeah. And
it
I
was
think
like
sorry, go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Oh,
I
I was
was just
just anyway, I was just saying that I love a little like deception game. Like I think that's just like fun. Like they don't really stress me out that much the way that they do like other people. I don't get like caught up in that. So I was having a good time. I don't know.
yeah,
I
I
was like
was
scheming
stressed
with
out.
Allie, even though I thought I knew it
Hmm.
maybe was like not the right thing. Oh, the other thing, I mean, just the way I think the way that camp was set up for this
Hmm.
is like you really had to put yourself out there
Oh
to have
yeah.
a conversation with someone
Yeah. It
because there was
was
just a tiny little pit in the woods.
yeah.
So if you left with someone, people were like, "What are they doing?"
People were talking about people that left. Like because there would be bathroom breaks and then the bathroom breaks would take 30 minutes for like four people and you're like, "Okay, well." So what's
Yeah,
happening there?
what's going on there?
But
Yeah,
I
it
think
was very obvious.
it was also like so my own fault because as a winner, I was so worried about putting a target on my back. I felt like I was such an easy first person to go if we lost that I was like,
I mean, look
if,
what happened to Olivia.
yeah, like I was like, if I start talking to people, people are immediately gonna like clock me for a schemer and then I'm
Yeah.
not. So I just kind of was trying to like keep up the camp camaraderie really. But then I feel like
Yeah.
there was a lot of gaming happening that I was totally not privy to, which was not something that I was super happy with at the time. Like I felt like I was being left out of conversations and stuff. And I mean, I'm hardly in
Yeah.
this episode, as you can tell.
Yeah.
So
But yeah, anytime someone went off, like it was very like I knew that
yeah,
Allie, CJ, and Steven had something going on because they
yeah.
all left together and were gone for like 10 minutes.
Allie was gone the most out
She
of
was gone a lot.
anyone.
I
She
mean,
was
and
gone
she
a
was gone
lot.
with me, so
And honestly, like as Ella said, like people were noticing that Allie was gone. Like
well,
it was
Ella was a little
well,
hyperbolic with
of course, as she tends to be. But people were definitely talking about Allie being gone.
Yeah.
The most out of anyone being gone. Maybe except for Steven. Steven was gone a lot too.
Yeah.
But
We had to scheme. Like we're
yeah,
playing the game.
of
And
course.
that's it. All right, so now we will be bringing in the woman of the hour.
Miss
Olivia, it's so sad. What happened, girl?
what happened?
I mean, when you start at the top, the only way is down.
So true.
Straight to the bottom.
Straight to the bottom.
Straight to the bottom. Yep.
You're either
Yeah.
first place in the sense that you win or you're first in the sense that you lose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Either
Right.
win or you lose. And you know what? Every other person besides the winner is in the exact same outcome as you. So
Oh,
True.
okay.
you can rest
So you
easy
might
at
as well
night
get it out of the
knowing
way.
everybody else lost too. So
Yep.
Mhm. It's
I
true.
guess that's right.
All right, so let's take it back to the beginning of this. The switching of tribes. Did you want to switch tribes? Because it seems like that's the narrative that people had.
Well, honestly, I didn't, but if I were a little smarter, I should have. But also, I don't think there's anyone on the other team who would have wanted to switch either. People seem to be in the right places, except for maybe myself, and a few others. But I was trying to prove tribe loyalty at the beginning by sussing out anyone who might want to switch to show that I'm super dedicated to the tribe. Um, Unfortunately, my enthusiasm for the game got the best of me.
Enthusiasm, right.
Man butt.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about like if you were on our tribe, I think that this would not have gone that way. I think the cards were stacked against you, if you will. But
I'd have to agree, but you know,
but
who knows?
I think there's a lot I mean, why do you think people were coming after you so hard in particular? Because you're not the only threat there.
Yeah, I think honestly, I just didn't try to play it cool at all. Um, and I guess people want you to fake playing it cool for a while.
Yes.
So talking strategy, even though it made sense that, I would be not only a good shield, but a good person to try to take all the way to the end because I'd won in the past and, the voters at home, don't necessarily don't want a repeat winner. I was thinking, or that I'd have harder odds being in the final three, final two, final four, whatever, if I were to make it there because of the former win. But I think talking endgame from the start, just
Yeah,
gave
I
me a
think that's
label of no
fair.
chill, and ended up sinking the ship for me.
Yeah.
I did think you had very good like logic. Like your argument to
Mhm.
Thank
Caroline was
you.
very sound. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think talking about the very end of the game, a lot of people aren't thinking about that at the
I
very
know.
beginning.
And
That
Yeah.
from
definitely
the
came
start, it
across.
was like, this is going to be an uphill battle.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
But
mean, did you think you were like a dead man walking, or was there something that you could have done that you're like
I
now realizing you could have, actually
shot in the dark. I mean,
Yeah.
well, yeah.
I
Yeah.
That's it
can't
though.
believe I didn't do it. But I was thinking, I was like, okay, if I convince like one or two people and they just don't want to talk about, like, say it out loud, maybe there's a shot. I thought maybe Grant could be potentially on the fence. Um, I wasn't sure about Liz, and Vanessa, and I had no idea how hard Dom was gunning for me because I was like, no, it wouldn't be funny for the bit to get him just like Survivor Manhattan.
Hmm.
Maybe I should have.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, Grant definitely wanted you in, but I think he just
Yeah,
went
yes,
along with
for
the
sure.
Caroline,
I
naughty,
think
naughty Caroline.
I think
she's got sway.
yeah, Grant's strategy to flip the vote on Joe instead of you was not gonna work, I don't think. So
Well,
yeah.
we see that now. I honestly, besides playing the shot of the dark, which it made no sense that I didn't, but I was like,
Hmm.
maybe my persuasion skills are better than I thought.
Hmm.
Um,
And then
and maybe there's a
you
chance.
found the idol.
Yeah, I was just gonna say if I had taken that little tag off the tiki torch and then been in the woods and been like, oh my God, I got an idol, um, then at least maybe I could have shifted it away from myself a bit, or even approached Joe and been like, hey, you were the number two. Like, you
Yeah.
wanna let's convince people, let's flip the script and do someone like Caroline. Because if we're gunning for someone who we perceive as a threat right from the start, I think that, and everyone was on board with it, I think that would be a decent like replacement, to swap, myself
Yeah.
for her rather than trying to change the approach since everyone else seemed on board with that.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, but I didn't do that, so
Yep.
here we are. Picking up the pieces still.
Listen, if I were on your tribe, I would have kept you.
Well, I'm sure
It's
you
a
would
it's a travesty.
have. Yeah.
The fact that we won't be
If
getting
only.
iconic lines such as "You look like you have Bing as your preferred search engine."
Oh my God. Well, the thing is, I was like, I gotta throw the other team off their game. Like, let me shout some random
You think it worked?
no. I mean, we got the little baggie first,
That's
um,
true.
which was great, but I don't know if other people appreciated that enthusiasm
Yeah.
as much. But come on, like the next thing I was gonna do is like, I bet you wear jorts and like
Oh, let's hear him. Go ahead.
Yeah.
I only have like three, and
Uh, Listen, we'll take him. Or is that the third?
yeah.
That's the third one. Okay.
I'm sad you
Gotcha.
didn't
Like
get
I
to
bet
break
you
that
don't
one
call back
out.
your grandma, but I don't
Oh,
know whose people's grandmas are alive, so I don't want to delve into that. Um,
Well, you did go as far as saying you're a disgrace to your family, so.
a little bit, but that's because his wife was and
Mhm.
brother-in-law were
Mhm.
there,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he was
and I felt
disgracing
like they would totally be on board with
him.
CJ Flash of
Yeah.
Venom roles, and
It
All
probably
right.
did. Yeah, mess with him a little.
Right.
yeah, I'd like to think so.
So who do you think they actually should have got out instead of you? Or do you think you were actually like a good choice for them?
Mm, I would not say it was a good choice because I was very sad about being voted out.
Okay. So
No,
if you make someone sad,
I
it's a bad choice.
mm,
Put that down. Not write it down.
I don't know. It's hard to think about it without thinking through everything that I know occurred later. So it's kind of hard to like remove the hindsight I have now, but I think there's a lot of complexities to that question and complexities of playing the game with people who you've played the game with before, in
Mm,
addition to some new people where you don't want to necessarily impact someone's experience because you actually do care about the people you're playing with, whether you
Mhm.
just
that's
met them or
true.
not. You're like, I want everyone to have a good time, but
Yeah,
like, get out of here.
Yeah.
right.
No,
Um,
I feel that. I feel like Dom was literally never gonna go first unless he did something crazy for
Right.
that reason. Like people would have
mhm.
just felt like so horrible because like
Yeah,
he had already
Truly.
suffered that fate.
Truly.
yeah,
If I was on your guys' tribe, there was no way I would be able to get rid of Dom
Yeah.
first, even if it
yeah,
was like the perfect thing to do.
yeah. And I like Vanessa so much, so I could see like logically we could be like, oh, with that math riddle that our lovely host Zach put together. Um, I could I could make that argument, but I liked her a lot and I didn't
Mhm.
want her to leave
Yeah.
there.
That's a really
Um,
interesting point actually. I think
Yeah.
especially in this like really interpersonal game, like
Yeah.
yes.
you want people to like have fun. Like we're here to have
Yeah.
fun.
Right.
So like
All
it's
about
just kind
camp
of
life.
easier to get rid of someone who like has already won because it's like they had their fun,
Yeah.
they made it to the end.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, I get
For
that.
sure.
That
Yeah,
makes
and that like especially round one, it's really like no one wants to go first.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's like especially someone like Vanessa who's literally never played before
Mhm.
is
Yep.
just like that's a really hard sell for a lot of
yeah.
Exactly.
people.
And people like
Exactly. And Joe.
travel for it
And
too.
Yeah.
It's
yeah,
like they're
people get
going
stuck at
7 hours out
the
of
airport for
oh
hours and
oh
hours
yeah,
and
tell us the
hours
story because we
because of a
didn't talk about
global
it.
IT infrastructure issue. Thank you, CrowdStrike. Literally, the like Windows not working blue screen. Every single screen in the airport was that.
Hmm.
It was
Yeah.
bizarre, and I was
And
like,
you
"Oh,
got in
this is
like the night before the game, I
Yeah.
think.
What time did you end up getting in? Like 11?
after the welcome dinner."
Yeah.
Yeah, after the welcome dinner, but pretty late, and I was at the airport very early in the morning, so I could
Hmm.
work from home in the airport that whole time. Um, and then I'm like, perfect. I'll just hop on this pretty relatively cheap flight. Don't have to use a PTO day, um, and then I regretted it all. No,
Yeah.
but it was pretty sad. I was
Yeah.
still feeling the burn.
Yeah, we
Yeah, for
were
sure.
worried about you making it.
Yeah, me too. And
Yeah.
then I was afraid about surviving, um, like because someone brought their dog, which I love dogs, but this was the most, I never saw it, but it was
Oh.
the most bad, I said bad about a dog ever. I know, but it was barking incessantly the entire time, like a shriek bark. It was,
So you had a good travel experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't
Yeah.
believe it was on. Like I literally took a 5 minute video of it and
Yeah,
I had
yeah.
to like delete actual videos to have enough storage to record that just to prove that I survived.
And I'm
Um,
so sorry that you went first after all.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, right?
Right.
Hey,
Okay.
I didn't vote for you.
Yeah, it wasn't us. It wasn't us. I mean, we did have the power to actually save you, but don't worry about that part.
Don't
What?
worry about it. Well, we
I
could have
said
sent you to exile.
Well,
we
yeah,
could,
uh-huh.
yeah.
Which,
But okay, well, so Olivia, I said this in the beginning of this episode, but I was viewing exile as like a bad thing. So I didn't want to send you to exile because I didn't want you to be ostracized further from the group. So that's my logic there.
all right.
But
That
I
wasn't my
think
logic. I'm gonna be
All all
No,
I
I
know
was
is
like,
that
we
you
gotta
want
save
him
Nick.
to
well, I
stay
also thought
more
that you
because
might be
he gave
upset.
better vibes.
I thought you might be upset if we sent you, and that's also not what I wanted to
Oh,
happen. Yeah.
oh.
Yeah,
I'll keep
that's
that in
funny.
mind.
Yeah. But I mean, let's talk about the hypotheticals. If you were to have saved the game and reunite or united, I guess, with GMAC and Roos, would you guys have worked together?
Okay, so it was very funny watching it back because everyone's like, they're working together, they're working together. And at home, when we were talking before we went, Bruce was like, I'm not working with anybody. I just want to cause chaos. And people were like, okay. And I'm like, Bruce, like, you gotta make sure you like watch some game footage and like, so you know how it goes. He's like, I'm gonna cause chaos. And
I mean, GMAC and him were aligned heavily, apparently.
yeah,
So
no, I think they got into that situation and they're like, I can't lie to you. I can't lie.
So I feel like something similar would have
yeah.
happened if you were there.
Well,
Right.
here's the thing. I was ready to do whatever I needed to do.
hmm
I don't think GMAC would have
I saw you
the
struggle
heart,
to say GMAC.
yeah,
I, yeah.
have the heart to lie to me because he's
Yeah.
not as much of a schemer gamer
Yeah.
Yeah.
type. Um, and I don't know if he would have been able to handle it if I lied to him. So originally I
hmm
was like, I ain't working with you. And then I was like, oh, I might have to, otherwise
hmm
he's gonna be thinking about this for years. So at the beginning, I
Yeah.
was like, it's kind of good we're on different teams
hmm
because I don't want to, you know, deal with that. But then at the end, like getting closer to the game, I was like, you know what? I just want to stay in long enough that I can make sure that they stay in and have a good time.
Yeah.
And well, they did that all by them. Yeah.
Well, while we're talking about it, do you have an announcement to make?
Oh, like
Oh
a
yeah.
shiny one? A shiny one?
Big
Yes.
congrats.
He found an immunity pebble and polished it up and gave it to me.
And now you're immune from relationship ending.
Yeah.
That's how that works.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, statistically, not at all. But yeah, I'm
Oh my
immune
God, we'll
from
call
other
it we'll
people
do an
hurting.
immunity idol that's like a half like it's a 50-50 toss, but it's called the divorce coin or
Wait, what?
something.
I thought you were gonna say like the yin and yang, and I was like, oh, he'll find one and I'll
Oh
find
no,
one.
because the divorce rate is like 50%. Okay,
No, no,
anyway.
I actually looked into that. That stat is like the way they calculate that is not
Yeah. No, I know.
all right. And I know it's like widely talked about, and yeah.
It doesn't account for it's like only the like recent I don't know, whatever. We don't talk about it.
Yeah,
Um
something funky.
Next time on Mam's Talk, we're
Next
going to
time,
discuss
yeah.
Yeah.
We'll
divorce.
do some
So
research and come back to you.
So let's right before we do our episode MVP and Silly
Mhm.
Goose of the Day, of course, we're bringing that back.
Of
Um,
course.
Wrap it up for us after going out, first boot, and then but winning the season. Do you feel like you have a better, more rounded perspective of what to do and what not to do. And can you summarize that for us?
Yes, and you know what? I have dedicated myself to being chill. I'm no longer going for the title ever again. I'm just here to chillax, have fun, kick my feet up, be with the mams and the dudes.
And
Um,
God.
Mostly God.
Mostly
And God.
Sorry, is this God 101? So
This is God 101.
my only god is the flying spaghetti monster.
That's next season's theme. Just be ready.
Oh, and then maybe some reveals. Um, but yeah, I think it's time for me to think about things from the perspective of people who may not um differently than people who flew to, Tahiti to compete with Jeff Probst.
hmm
And
Yeah.
I gotta dial it back and be a chill girl.
I
Yeah, we're
definitely understand that.
chilled out.
Yeah.
We're gonna chill out
We're
next
gonna
year.
Chill
chill. Just
vibes.
Chill
chill.
But with
Well, with God,
God. Thank you.
first and foremost.
It the theme is God.
We don't want any false
Where
idols in our camp.
where did this come from?
Is
Why
this
did you start saying this? Were you thinking about
Because
holy
you always have
matrimony?
to
Is
keep
that why?
because you always have to keep it
We
you
get
always
it.
have
He
to
went
keep
to
God right
Catholic
here.
school.
If God is
Okay.
not at the center of
All right, we need to stop this.
I'm an atheist. Like, what is happening?
Yeah, truly, we've lost the plot. Kay's evangelizing. Zach is along for the ride
I
and
love a
being.
bit.
what is Silly Goose if not a bit about God?
Just a little showy.
I'm God's silliest goose.
All right, so let's do the
Yes.
do we do Silly Goose first or episode MVP? It's been a long time.
I think we do MVP first and then silly goose.
Okay, yeah,
I
let's do.
think. Yeah.
Ooh, okay,
I think so,
okay.
right? Yeah,
We're
I
gonna
think
go
so.
with that.
Okay, we'll
Maria,
change it
let
next
us know
time.
if we're wrong.
Yeah, we'll change it next time if that's not what we used to do.
Okay. So we have all selected one particular individual to win
Mhm.
episode MVP. We will now begin discussing.
Yes.
Zach, who have you decided?
I have picked Caroline. I think that she came out on top of the battle between like her and Grant for like who should go home. And I do think that Olivia going ultimately was like the best move for her out of everyone there. Like other people benefited, but I do think that Caroline really got her way and like has put herself in a good position with the tribe this episode.
Yeah. Olivia, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, honestly, I was maybe just because I'm biased because it still stings so bad. But I picked my MVP from the other group. Um, can it be two people?
You can give
You
two
can
options.
we're gonna decide on one, but you can give us your
Okay.
two options, yeah.
Well, Allie and Ella, I think, were doing a good job of like talking both sides.
Mhm.
So they're like, yeah, the all girls alliance, and then they're like, yeah, we need to get Jess and Kay out. And we like Ella trying to get in with the boys alliance a little bit, but then being like, yeah, no, we gotta split them up. So I think that they did, great acting jobs, and great jobs just like playing all sides at once while remaining kind of chill. Um, yeah, so those are my MVPs, but the most um the MFP most fabulous player was definitely GMAC.
Who I think just walked in.
No bias, no bias.
No bias here.
Jessica?
I do have to agree with Zach here. I think that Caroline kind of had the way that I was when I was watching the episode, I really feel like she kind of like started to lose footing on Olivia going home. And then eventually her and Dom kind of linked and were like, wait, no, like we want Olivia to go home. Let's make it happen. And Caroline being persistent and strong-headed enough to make that happen, even after she's getting pushback from certain people, I think is definitely like characteristic of the good game that she consistently plays.
Yeah. I will also agree with that. I respect the Ally and Ella choice. However, I think everyone on the aces that was highlighted um is at a fault in some sense. I think a lot of people are playing it a little too fast and loose, myself
Yeah.
included. Obviously, we get clocked on that one.
Yeah.
But playing all sides isn't always a good thing.
Yeah, I do
It
have
can
to agree
very
with
easy,
that.
and there's a lot of talkers on our tribe, so I think that could very easily get back to people in a bad way. So I have to
Yeah.
go with Caroline here. I mean, she gets her way. And I feel like we can't really it is best for her game out of
Yeah.
everybody.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think with that, Caroline, you're the episode MVP. You are my most elite employee.
You've just been promoted, Caroline.
Congratulations. Wow. Starting off with a bang,
Yep.
Caroline.
Mhm.
Congratulations.
Yep.
I'm so sorry, Olivia. She beat you twice. No. But you got her one. It's two to
Yep.
1. 2-1.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, so let's talk about Silly Goose. Who would like
Yes.
to begin?
Me, I was the silliest kid. I didn't play my shot in the dark. I totally should have pretended I found an idol, especially because I didn't realize they were all talking about like she's good at finding idols.
Mhm.
I totally could have done that, and I just was like, yeah,
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I have to agree. I did put you as the silliest goose. Also because you made me laugh a lot in the episode. Like
Mhm.
the
I'm so
trash
glad.
talking during the challenge,
Oh, thank
the
you.
calling people out. You clocked Vanessa and Caroline so well, and like that just made me giggle. Like when you were like, "You're bad at lying." It's
Yeah.
So funny though, because her expression just changed, and you could tell that she's such an honest person. She's like,
Yeah.
"Oh no, I have to tell a lie," and it was just like, "Oh, sweetie, no, I'm
Yeah.
Yeah.
sorry. You
Yeah.
don't need to lie to me." Oh,
Yeah, yeah, I also had Olivia as the silly goose of the day. And because of the various things coming in a little too hot with your threat level and not being the chill girl that you have said that you are now aspiring to be. But also just for the joy that you've graced our YouTube TV screens with.
Yeah. Man, the confrontation alone, as we've deemed it, the confrontation trademarked, okay?
Capitals.
Capital trademark.
Caroline or Vanessa?
You and Caroline.
I'm
Oh.
Caroline. That is a standoff of two
Yeah.
powerful women, and
Two
it is
queens stand
incredible.
before me.
But
Yeah.
ultimately, it does make you the silly goose of the
Silly
day.
goose of the day.
Ooh. So now you're tied again.
So
2-2.
true. There you go.
You've got to break the
I mean,
tie.
honestly, the Disco Queen versus the Silly Goose, I will take the Silly
Yeah,
Goose.
there you go.
I mean, it's
Listen,
the name of the
I was gonna
name of
say
our
it's
game.
not a bad thing to be a silly
Yeah,
goose.
they hate to see a Silly Goose winning, but silly geese win.
Mm-hmm. Consistently, she's drinking
Well,
her
no,
silly goose
not this
juice.
time, but overall, playing the long game.
Yeah. So we have a very exciting season coming up. Very, very exciting.
Sure do.
Please continue to watch, subscribe if you would like to stay updated on that. And go to our Instagram. We have some fun stuff on there at Silly Goose Survivor. And with that, the man signing off.